Last week we were talking about analytical mind and effort, which are two qualities that are quite strongly related and that are also two of the factors of enlightenment, so it's very useful to talk about them. Firstly, I want to explain a particular point about effort. Effort is the opposite of laziness. And laziness, when people think about laziness, it's almost always to be understood physically. Physical laziness means that you don't like to do physically hard work. You want to lie around, sleep, not do anything. So this is laziness. It is genuine laziness, and it is also a fault that we should remove. But what I want to particularly explain about here is mental laziness. Mental laziness is something that we don't tend to talk about as often as physical laziness. And to explain the difference between the two, I will just give you an example because it will be easier than just explaining directly. So for example, if you are a farmer and you have to plow a field, so you have your tractor with the plow behind it and you pull the plow along behind, going back and forth and back and forth. And at some point you notice that it's not really going quite as well as it should. Like the plow is just dragging a little bit, or it's taking a bit longer than it should to do each row. And now here is where the difference between mental laziness and physical laziness will show up. Because what we need to do is to get down from the tractor and examine the machine to see what's wrong and to repair it before going on. But now it will be very common and seen quite often in a lot of people that instead of doing this, which means you have to stop the machine, get down from the tractor, stop what you're doing, go and examine the thing, maybe you have to go back to the farm to get some tools. You don't want to put the mental effort to figure out what's wrong. It's much easier to just continue to work, even if it's going to take you twice as long as it would normally do. You prefer to continue to take twice as long to plow the field rather than stopping, putting some effort mentally to calculate what's gone wrong, to find the problem and fix it. So this is being mentally lazy, not necessarily physically lazy. You're perfectly happy to continue to work longer hours even than normal in order to finish ploughing your field. Not physically lazy, but mentally lazy to solve the problem when it arises, to notice and to remark, oh, something's not normal, instead of saying, oh, no problem, maybe it's just that the soil is more sticky here, maybe it's just that, oh, no problem, no need to think about it. And this mental laziness, just one little moment of mental laziness, when you decide not to get down from the tractor and check what's gone wrong, can be, and often is, even more damaging than physical laziness. Because if you're physically lazy, let's say you finish repairing the machine, and then, oh, I don't feel like continuing the day's work, and you stop, but at least now the machine works. You haven't done further damage. But if you leave it without repairing the thing that's gone wrong, it's very possible, it does happen all the time, that now the machine is even further damaged than it would have been if you had caught it in the beginning. Plus, maybe your job ends up being so bad that you have to redo it again anyway. So just one moment of negligence or carelessness like that can have pretty big consequences. So mental effort is the opposite to mental laziness, and it's what is needed to develop in order to develop the other quality which I want to mention today, which is analytical mind. Analytical mind is another factor of enlightenment, and it is extremely important. We don't hear people talking about it all that much. People tend to describe the work of meditation or practicing dhamma as being mainly just on concentrating and shutting out everything else, or developing mindfulness, that's it, without even really understanding what mindfulness is or what it's for. But just as important as being aware is learning how to think, learning how to calculate, which many of us were really not used to doing. We just have a simple task, we're told what to do and we do what we're told, and we like it like that. We don't like to think, we don't like to calculate, we don't like to analyze, to figure out for ourselves what will be the consequences if I do this, what if I do another way. We tend to always just go with the first idea that comes into our mind without ever considering other possibilities, without looking into it further. So the awareness, mindfulness, is important. It's extremely important as being the quality that allows us to stop ourselves in this automatically doing the first thing that comes into our mind or saying the first thing that comes into our mind without ever questioning it. So we can stop ourselves with this only if we have enough awareness of what's going on in our mind. But then the next important step is to develop analytical mind, to be able to decide, to choose what we do. Instead of just seeing one option, we can see a whole range of options, as well as being able to see in advance what will be the consequences, the effect of my action, and so I can choose my action according to the effect I want it to have. So when I'm describing this, it sounds kind of like you're doing a long sit-down calculation every time before you do anything, but it doesn't have to be like that at all. It can be in the space of a split second. And to give one example of that, we had an incident here just a couple of years ago as we were in the process of renovating a building. At one point, a big beam had to be lifted into the ceiling, and it was so heavy that several people had to lift it at the same time. And at this moment, Natalie, who is one of the students here with Ajahn, was responsible for holding the security rope that made sure that the beam would not fall, just in case something happened. When everybody tightened their feet under the beam in order to support it, one of the posts that was at the same time supporting another beam came loose and started to fall. So these supporting posts were made out of metal, 9 feet tall, so pretty heavy. And Natalie, she didn't look at this post at that moment, but just heard a little tiny noise of scratching metal and turned her head to check. So she turned around and saw this big metal post falling right in the direction of her head. So now, at this moment, almost everybody will have an automatic reaction of fear. You want to just drop the rope, jump out of the way, and save yourself. But Natalie told us about it afterwards, how she recalled seeing all the different possibilities run through her mind in a split second. Okay, I can tell somebody to catch the post. No, it's too late. Okay, I want to go towards the post to catch it, but if I go to catch the post, I will have to let go of the rope, so no, I can't do that. I need to keep the rope there to be the security for the others. I can step aside and let the beam fall, but it will miss me. So finally she just stepped 1 meter aside, let the post fall, exactly where she had stood before. And all this happened in 1 second or less. She saw all of this going on in her mind at that moment, but she didn't have any fear. And even after the beam had fallen, there was no sense of adrenaline, no heart beating, no faster, just the same as if that metal post had fallen 10 meters away, for example. So the main point I wanted to make in this case with this story is it's a very good demonstration of how analytical mind is used in practice. Somebody who is training themselves continually to ask, what is the next step? What will happen if I do this? This is the work of analytical mind. Now they can see, even in a split second, the possible effects of all different types of actions that they could take at that moment, even as the post is falling towards their head. And so they're able to choose the best solution, the best possible course of action that doesn't risk causing harm to anybody else, as it would have done had she let go of the rope, but at the same time saves herself without being afraid. In Dhamma, this same analytical mind is to be applied constantly to reflect before on all of our words, on our actions, even on our thoughts, to be aware of the effect, not only on the material world around us, to see what will be the material effect of our action, but even more importantly, what effect does our action, does our word, does our thought have in Dhamma, which is to say, does it train us in good qualities? Does it increase the strength of our good qualities and remove bad qualities? Or does it train the strength of our bad qualities, our faults, our impurities, and reduce the strength of our qualities, our good qualities? So to develop this analytical mind, particularly if we are not used to using it, requires mental effort, continual mental effort. It's like developing a muscle. To continually search inside of ourselves, how can we improve? How can we correct? How can we do better? How could I have done better? What was the effect of this action or that action? How can I improve it next time? What is the cause of this impurity in me? What is its food? What makes it grow all the time? How can I reduce it? How can I remove it? Asking ourselves questions and really working on them, like, why am I afraid to die? What's my biggest attachment? What's my biggest fear? And why is it like that? How can I change it? To see the causes, the conditions of everything that happens in our own minds, as well as how they take effect in the world. So that just like with the example of the plow and going back and forth while something is wrong, we don't make that mistake in our own mind. We don't make that mistake of carrying around something that is wrong inside of us, while we could have stopped, looked at it, found what was the problem and fixed it.